Good morning, Tech for Senior,
Good morning.
episode 108. It is April the 18th. We have 75 people watching the show and a bunch
Wow.
over on YouTube. So welcome everyone. As mentioned earlier, I've got my new black shirt on. Thanks for thanks for noticing. We're in the middle of a massive storm on the east coast of Vancouver Island here. In fact, my wife was so scared this morning she wouldn't go to the gym, so we're hunkering down. So the reason I'm mentioning that, if I disappear, you'll know the power's gone out. So
Yeah.
I've asked
Yeah.
the other crew that are with me here that they're going to take over and sort of keep going. So far, so good, but it is howling here. Anyway, welcome everyone to Tech for Senior. We have a great show for you today. The show today is going to be about an hour long. If you're over on YouTube, it'll be ending in about 50 minutes, just prior to Ray's music segment. And if you want to pop over and join us on our Zoom meeting here, because this is a Zoom meeting, then pop over here and we will be happy to let you in and you can participate in the Q&A. We also have a second show we do this week called Tech for Senior Live, and we review the news articles of the week and talk about interesting things. This week, Bill James, of course, the gadget guy, will be on the show. Hewie may be the roving reporter from his luncheon meeting, and we're going to have lots of fun this Thursday. And if you do miss it, we do podcast our Thursday show, and it's up and ready on Friday. I want to thank Sandra Ruth for her generous donation this week. Thanks so much to our coffee fund. Today, we will be our premier service, which I put in the newsletter, and it's also, I'll put it again in the chat for the link, but I'll be doing finally the end of it, right? Part 3, virtual reality for seniors. So this will be the final word on that. Huey's going to talk on tips and tricks for Windows 10. And I'm going to also talk on it's a good time to buy a Chromebook, purchase considerations for a new Chromebook. And you might even consider what we call a Chrome box. And if you want to find more about that, then you can listen to our Tech for Senior premiere service, which will occur at about 1:30. So let's introduce everyone today. As you know, we have a big group now that helps participate in the show. But before I introduce them, I want to thank everybody for coming, because it's your enthusiasm that keeps us going. The only thing I worry about the show is I'll wake up one morning and people won't come, and then that's the only worry I really have. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you for people who help us in the chat. And there are some of the people that are regulars here who are preparing segments to do on the show, and we're really anxious to see that happen. So if you have an interest in any particular subject that you want to talk about, just let me know, and we're happy to have you on the show and participate. So you'll see a few segments coming up, and I want to thank everybody who has agreed to participate in the show as well. Hewie, how the heck are you doing?
If I unmute myself, I'm doing fine.
Very good. Very good. So you're going to be a roving at your luncheon meeting this week. You're going to rove on your new phone. Hey, you got a couple of new phones recently, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I bought one. It's a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. And within a couple of days, every once in a while, it would just shut off. And then one day I was using it, I think it was Thursday last week, and it just kept shutting off. So I'm right across the street from the T-Mobile store. So I went right back over there and said, hey, and they had one in stock, and they just swapped me out. And and then copied everything over to it. But yeah, I still had to go in and change settings and put some passwords in and so on. So I'm getting to know how to do that pretty well now since I've done it twice in a week.
Okay, there you go. So you haven't had the problem with your new one.
I have not had the problem with the new one. I've been taking some pictures with it. I love it's got 5 cameras on it, and the zoom is unbelievable.
Mm,
I'm going to have to do a video on. I've got to take some more pictures using the zoom,
all right.
but it's just amazing.
All right. Well, great. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that. Then,
Yep.
of course, Bob and I have the Pixel 6. So we're sort of second class citizens. What do you think, Bob? Do you think we're pretty happy with our phones, aren't we?
I don't have any complaints.
No, no.
And what I'm going to demonstrate today, you'll be able to do on your phone as well as I can do on mine, and everyone who has an Android phone can use it as well as it's a little bit different, but iPhone and iPads can use it as well.
All right. Bob, how's your week gone?
Excellent. Easter Sunday is always a special day in this family. 16 years ago, that was the day that we got the news that Alice was a lucky recipient for a liver transplant. So Easter Sunday for us is always a special day.
And I forgot to wish everyone a happy Easter. Yes, thanks, Bob. Happy Easter to everybody. Hopefully everyone's had a ham or turkey or some good food and lots of family experiences. So happy Easter to everyone. And thank you for coming out and watching on Easter for us. Then, of course, we have Ray Baxter in Pine, Arizona.
Yes, and everybody's talking about Easter. I spent my Easter finishing up my taxes, which are now due today. So mine wasn't exactly a happy Easter.
Right. All right. Well, Dewey's happy because he's home, but he's got snow. What the heck?
I am not too happy about having the snow. That's my house in back of me. As you can see, and there's snow on the ground right now. It's cold and windy, and the weather absolutely stinks here in Minnesota. But I am told by the local radio forecast, by around next Thursday or Friday, it's going to be warming up and getting nice. So I hope I can trust it.
How'd the barbecue survive the winter?
Well, yes, it's still there. It's been too cold to go out and take the cover off. But we had a happy Easter also. Our daughter brought over 2 big egg dishes, as she called them. We had family and we just had a wonderful time. She's a gourmet cook. Wonderful.
Yes. I've met her. I've met your whole family. It's you're so lucky. And do they all live in the same town that you are in?
Well, most of them, except of course our son who lives out in Colorado. And we talked about that last week.
Right. Yeah, it's very lucky. And of course, Bill James from, of course, Oklahoma City.
Well, there's not much going on here except that it's 45 degrees and windy. But I'm looking forward for Thursday.
Yeah. So everyone, you better watch the show on Thursday because Bill's going to have some cool gadgets. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff. I got some cool stuff to talk about as well. So we'll have a good time on Thursday. All right. Bob always tells me, Ron, stop talking. Let's get the show moving. So, Bob, do you want to take it away?
Let's try doing it and see how it works out.
Okie doke.
Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending April 15th, 2022. Google Chrome Emergency Update fixes zero-day used in attacks. Google has released Chrome 100.0.4896.127 for Windows, Mac, and Linux to fix a high-severity zero-day vulnerability actively used by threat actors in attacks. Google is aware that an exploit for CVE 2022-1364 exists in the wild, Google said in a security advisory released today. While Google states that this Chrome update will roll out in the next few days, users can receive it immediately by going into Chrome menu, Help, About Google Chrome. The browser will also automatically check for new updates and install them the next time you close, and relaunch Google Chrome. If you haven't updated, do it now. Read more at Bleeping Computer. Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter and take it private. Tesla CEO Elon Musk offered to buy Twitter in a deal worth more than $43 billion and take the social media company private. Musk's best and final offer was at $54.20 per share for 100% of Twitter, and said that if this offer were not accepted, he'd have to reconsider his position as a shareholder, according to an SEC filing. Elon Musk has a backup plan if this $43 billion bid to take Twitter private is rejected by the company's board of directors. I'm not sure that I will actually be able to acquire Twitter, he admitted during an interview at TED 2022 in Vancouver on Thursday. While Musk has said that $54.20 per share offer is his best and final one, he teased that there is a plan B, but declined to elaborate. Read more at Fox Business. Qbot malware switches to new Windows installer infection vector. The Qbot botnet is now pushing malware payloads via phishing emails with password-protected zip archive attachments containing malicious MSI Windows installer packages. This is the first time the Qbot operators are using this tactic, switching from their standard way of delivering the malware via phishing emails, dropping Microsoft Office documents with malicious macros on targets' devices. Security researchers suspect this move might be a direct reaction to Microsoft announcing plans to kill malware delivery via VBA Office macros in February after disabling Excel 4.0 XML macros by default in January. Read more at Bleeping Computer. Will the metaverse be the new internet? Some researchers, business specialists, and forecasters believe the metaverse, the virtual reality platform accessed by devices like Meta's Oculus Quest 2, will reach the same popularity and generate the same revenue as the internet. Bloomberg ran an article at the end of 2021 claiming the metaverse is the next tech platform and that it would generate $800 billion, about $2,500 per person in the US, over the next 2 years in social media ads, hardware, software, and live entertainment opportunities. In his 2021 founders letter, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wrote, "In the metaverse, you'll be able to do almost anything you can imagine. Get together with friends and family, work, learn, play, shop, create, as well as completely new experiences that don't really fit how we think about computers or phones today." For more on this, see Venture Beat. John Oliver explains data brokers. On last Sunday's episode of HBO's Last Week Tonight, John Oliver expounded data brokers, data collection, and third-party cookies. Breaking down what data brokers do, Oliver explained, what all these companies have in common is they all collect your personal information and then resell or share it with others. As one expert puts it, they're the middlemen of surveillance capitalism. The host talked about the lack of regulations in the industry and the evolution of third-party cookies that track your internet activity. He also listed privacy-preserving browsers and gave instructions on how to protect privacy on personal devices. To read more and see the segment, check out 9 to 5 Google. New legislation scares big tech. Amy Klobuchar and Chuck Grassley, respectively the top Democrat and Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee, introduced an American Innovation and Choice Online Act, legislation that would prevent dominant online platforms like Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon from giving themselves an advantage over other businesses that must go through them to reach customers. In backlash against the bill, the big tech companies have claimed that if it became law, it would be a disaster for consumers, effectively ruining Google's search results, barring Apple from offering useful features on iPhones, forcing Facebook to stop moderating content, and outlawing Amazon Prime. For more on this story, see Ars Technica. Amazon starts Plant a Tree program through Alexa. For $1 through their Amazon Pay account, Alexa owners can say, "Alexa, grow a tree," to donate one tree planted. The trees will be part of a reforestation project in Pennsylvania's defunct mining region, California's land ravaged by the 2018 forest fires, and alongside the rivers and streams of the Pacific Northwest. Fruit trees will also be planted in communities across India. Customers can keep track of how many trees they help plant through their Amazon Pay account. See ZDNet for more or watch my video at the link listed. Avast detects TDS distributing malware. A new traffic direction system, TDS, detected by Avast researchers and dubbed Parrot TDS, has infected various web servers hosting more than 16,500 websites, including adult content site, personal websites, university sites, and local government sites. The sites were altered by a campaign called Fake Update, also known as Social Ghoulish, which displays fake notices for users to update their browser, offering a file to download. Avast identified the file as a remote access Trojan labeled ctfmon.exe, which gives attackers full access to the host. For more, see the Hacker News. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. Today, most risk-facing consumers from cybercriminals can be tied back to credential or data theft in some form. What if there was a future in which technology stopped this from happening? Read the article on this topic at the following link. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and get involved.
Well, thank you so much. Lots of news this week. Bob also did a video. Maybe you could put the link in the chat, Bob, on the making of your news article that you do. I thought that was very interesting, and you put the video up yesterday.
Yeah, and it's on our Facebook page.
Yeah, so if you want to look at the how he does it, it's very interesting. All right, let's see what Dewey has to say on the final word on USB 4. Let's see what he has to say today.
Good morning, friends. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is USB 4, the rest of the story. When I last spoke on USB 4 2 weeks ago, I concluded my Tech Talk by quoting Michelle, who was writing about USB in a MacSales.com blog. I think it best to first review what she wrote, so here goes. Michelle said, USB-C is a connection type. USB-C is not Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4, or USB 4. It's only the connection type that those technologies use. To understand the difference between those technologies, you have to go past the USB-C connector, even though they all share it. Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4, and USB 4 are communication standards or protocols that provide a set of features for a computer to interact with devices through that USB-C connection. All three of these communication standards use the USB-C connection type to connect to computers and devices. The difference between Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4 is that Thunderbolt 4 guarantees certain specifications that are optional with the Thunderbolt 3 standard. Thunderbolt 4 is always 40 gigabits per second, while Thunderbolt 3 and USB 4 can operate at either 20 or 40 gigabits per second. The difference between Thunderbolt 3 and USB 4 is purely in name. The actual standards are identical. Important to remember. In fact, Intel gave the Thunderbolt 3 standard to the USB Implementers Forum, which allowed for the adoption of the technology on USB 4 devices. As far as compatibility and performance goes, they're practically the same, even though their names are different. As far as cables go, regardless of whether the device is USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4, Michelle advises it's best to purchase a Thunderbolt 4 cable to work with any of those devices to guarantee full compatibility. Since Thunderbolt 4 includes support for USB and DisplayPort, if you see the Thunderbolt logo, which is a small lightning bolt and the number 4 on the cable, you can check at the right, you know that connection can do it all. It's a great connection, Thunderbolt 4. This is the point at which I stopped 2 weeks ago asking the question, what is DisplayPort? In seeking an answer to this question, I discovered a wonderful reference tool at pcmag.com called simply Encyclopedia. When Encyclopedia is open, you'll immediately see an easy method for finding the definition of a technical term. It looks like this. Browse Encyclopedia and you choose the alphabetical letter with which your term begins. When I clicked on D to find a definition for DisplayPort, I had to scroll through around 1,200 terms beginning with the letter D to find it. And by the way, the alphabetical letter D alone had approximately 3,000 definitions in total. This is an amazing encyclopedia. DisplayPort, written as a single word, may be defined as a digital interface between a computer and a monitor, stressing the word digital. It uses a small connector and thin cable that extends up to 50 feet. DisplayPort supports pulse code modulation audio with sampling rates up to 196 kilohertz, as well as supporting HDMI's HDCP anti-piracy protocol that is honored by some devices. Defining DisplayPort further becomes very complicated, and I fear would find little interest with our Tech for Seniors audience. So I think it's best to stop at this point. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I am sticking with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. And next week, I'm going to be starting a series on EVs, electrical vehicles, cars and trucks, and I think you'll find it interesting.
We can hardly wait to next week. That sounds great. Thank you so much, Dewey. That was great. Bob, you have some more stuff for us today.
Here is a 2022 update on data privacy legislation. It's clear that privacy regulations will continue to be somewhat of a patchwork quilt. Last year, we wrote an analysis on data privacy legislation updates. Last year, Mississippi didn't pass its privacy bill, and more than a dozen states had bills that are still under consideration. Iowa, Indiana, and Oklahoma are all in the process of moving various privacy bills through their legislatures, and several other states have begun to consider new laws. Also, 7 states are considering biometric information privacy legislation. The most comprehensive source remains an annotated map from Hush Blackwell, which will link you to each state's legislation. If you are looking for more analysis, this page from the National Conference of State Legislatures has more contextual explanations. There have been some developments and further refinements on the 3 states that have enacted privacy legislation. California Privacy Rights Act, also known as CPRA, and California Consumer Privacy Act, called CCPA, Colorado Privacy Act, and Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act. There are 2 new items from California. First, on January 28, 2022, the California Attorney General's Office sent notices to businesses operating loyalty programs in California that provide financial incentives in exchange for consumers to divulge various personal data. Under CCPA, they must tell you what the payment will be prior to you opting onto the program. The second item is that the California Privacy Protection Agency, the agency charged with enforcing their privacy laws, won't be fully up and running until later this year, missing the mandated deadlines. However, some of the laws have already gone into effect, which means you should have some knowledge of what is required, even if there isn't yet any knocking on your legal doorstep with a potential violation. Colorado and Virginia's laws don't take effect until 2023, July 1st and January 1st, respectively. So there is still time to formulate an action plan. But as you take a deeper dive into the 3 states, you'll see that there is little agreement about how they define various elements of privacy and what are requirements for businesses that handle private data. As an example, see this comparison of how the 3 define the rights of consumers. Biometric privacy. The 3 state laws also differ on how biometric privacy will be regulated. CPRA creates new requirements for sensitive personal information and allows consumers to limit certain data by businesses. Virginia's law has a more restrictive definition of biometric data and more limits on how it can be processed. Colorado doesn't explicitly define biometric data, but has provisions like California's laws. What this all means is that it will be complicated for companies doing businesses in these 3 states, because they will have to audit their data protection procedures and understand how they obtain consumer consent or allow consumers to restrict the use of such data and make sure they match the different subtitles in the regulations. Conducting data protection assessments. Each state also differs in what will be required for these assessments. Virginia's laws require reporting of any processing activities involving personal data that presents a heightened risk of harm to consumers, without specifically defining what that harm might be. Colorado's law does better in laying out its harm definitions, but has a different scope of what constitutes a valid assessment. California's laws leave the actual rules for these assessments with the yet-to-be operational agency mentioned above. So we'll have to see how that shakes out later this year. Because of the different definitions between the laws, it's possible that under some circumstances, Colorado could require an assessment, but not Virginia or vice versa. What's clear from the events of the past year is that privacy regulations will continue to be somewhat of a patchwork quilt, sorting out the various state efforts. And there are other states that will probably enact their own regulations in 2022, which will be difficult. Add in that there are subtle differences with the EU's GDPR and what China has enacted, and these will compound issues for international businesses. Read David Strom's full article on this topic at the link listed. Staying informed is an important step in keeping you safe and secure. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. Life gets more and more complicated, eh?
Confusion reigns supreme.
Well, we're just going to listen to you. You can figure it out and let us know, eh? All right. All right. Ray, I think you're up next. I've been
Okay.
waiting for this. This is, yes. It's all yours.
All right. Let me preserving your family home movies. Hope we all realize that every day your precious, one-of-a-kind tape home movies are degrading. Now, 20th century videotape formats. There were several videotape formats that consumers used 20 plus years ago to record family activities before the digital age arrived. Who remembers these videotape formats? Betamax. Actually, I owned one of the earliest Betamax machines and really liked that. But no, what took over was VHS. And
Good
then we had
morning.
VHS-C, C standing for compact. Then there was the mini DV. And then the one I used in the 90s mostly was called High 8. Now the steps to take for converting these home movies from analog to digital. The very first thing you have to decide is if you're going to use an online service or is this going to become a do-it-yourself project. If it's going to be do-it-yourself, and that's what I'm going to be focused on now, then you have to decide what equipment do you need to do this. What software are you going to want to use? Now the next step after you make those decisions is to copy the complete tape to the computer as an MP4 file. Then you're going to want to review that entire MP4 file first and keep a written record of where each segment that you want to keep begins and ends, time-wise. Then you bring in the video editing software that is going to allow you to break into separate smaller clips, those from this longer video, and save them with the names that identify the saved video clip itself. And then the last step is to save these clips in a folder named with the year they took place. So let's go through these one by one. Right off the bat, are you going to use a professional copy service to convert your tape home movies to digital format? Well, the pros are someone else does most of the work. And that there's several services that for a fee will digitize. And I'm going to focus just on two today, Walmart and Legacy Box. They will give you a choice of either getting back a DVD of your tape or a flash drive or the ability to download from the cloud when the project is completed. Now, on the negative side, this takes typically 3 to 4 weeks for the digital file and your originals to be returned to you. Now, it's very, very rare, but the potential will always exist for loss or damage to the originals. Now, depending on how much you have to convert, this can be expensive. These are the Legacy Box rates that I just looked up as of April 2022. And they do it, and they charge you based on how many tapes you present to them. So if you have just 2 tapes, again, you can see $50.98, 10 tapes, $229.98. Let's see, all the way up to 40 tapes, $904.98. So yes, this can become an expensive proposition, but then again, somebody else is doing almost all the work, so maybe it's worthwhile to you. Now, if you're going to make it a do-it-yourself project, this is the equipment that you're going to need. Now, depending on the tape format, you will need either a camcorder or a VHS player to play your tape. Now, if you no longer have the original camcorder, then you'll need to obtain one. Now, maybe you're lucky and you can borrow one from a friend. If not, you can purchase one used from a thrift store or on eBay. And the good news is once you're all done with your project and it's still working, you can always resell it. And then another thing to do is to check if a local camera store may rent camcorders. And then you're going to need another important item here, and that's called a video capture adapter. And that's what you're going to use to connect between the player and your computer. So I purchased a video capture adapter. It's called Roxio Easy VHS to DVD, and I got this at an estate sale for 25 cents. One of the best investments I ever made. Now, when this product was new, it was for Windows XP and Vista, so that'll give you an idea of how old it was. But the key here is the hardware. The picture at the bottom there shows you what the hardware looks like. So all I did was, when I got this home, I went to the Roxio website and downloaded the latest software. So this saved me, instead of buying the latest version on Amazon for just under $40, I was able to use this for 25 cents. Now, there is an equivalent on Amazon from a company called Digit Now, and they sell the same, what appears to be the same video capture adapter for only $12.99. Now, mind you, I've never used it, so I can't tell you one way or the other on that particular hardware. The one I've used is the Roxio. Now, here's what it looks like when it's set up. On one end of the adapter, it has the standard red, white, yellow RCA connectors. It also has an S-video connection if at one time you use the higher quality video instead of the yellow line. And that goes to the camcorder, while the other end has a USB that connects to the PC. With the software open on the computer, you play the tape, and in real time, it will be recorded to the computer as an MP4 file. Now, you can choose to make a DVD, but you have many more options if the result is a computer file. From the beach to the snow. How many can relate to that? If you're like me, a typical 2-hour video cassette tape covers multiple activities and events that may have taken place over several months' time. Thus, my situation of going from a beach scene to a snow scene. Now, for this project to be meaningful, I think what you want to do is edit the video into individual segments, with each file name containing a brief description of what was recorded. Example, you might say something like Joey's 10th birthday party. And you save this in a folder in the family video library named with the year the video was taken. I don't go to the trouble to specify the specific date, as this usually shows up in the actual video in the opening scene for those that need to know that bit of data. So what I do is I watch the video before I do any editing. So here's an example where I've created a spreadsheet. This is the family tape number 1, and I show the start time, the stop time, and the scene. Little description of the scene. And you can see as you look at these times, often they will jump, not go exactly from second to second with each number, with each line. And that's because I'll come across parts of the video that don't need to be saved. Maybe the camera was not recording properly, or any number of reasons. This way, I know beforehand, before I actually do the editing, where I need to stop and start. And so I do this by scanning quickly, as I say, through the video. And I've used a spreadsheet, but a pencil and paper will do just as well. And now I know what this information is up front. And this will then allow me to skip over parts of the video that do not need to be saved. Now, this may seem like extra time spent, but I can tell you with this step, it more than makes up for the time saved when you're actually doing the video editing. And now you want to use your favorite video editing software. There's many that are available to purchase, or in my case, download for free. You just have to use the one that you're most comfortable with. My choice for this project is one called AvidMux. It's free and open source, and I find it very simple to use. And there are many YouTube instructional videos available for this software to watch and learn from. But again, if you're using one in the past, this kind of process of clipping out just segments of the video is pretty common, and almost all the video editing software will allow you to do this. So here's the steps of the process I use. I copy the full video to the video editor, and then using the software controls to indicate where I want to start and end a particular video clip. And then using that spreadsheet or pencil and paper listing I created, I can quickly find where these start and stop locations are. And then once it's done, I create a main folder named Family Videos, and then save this clip in a subfolder named for the year the activity took place. Again, as I said before, give the clip an activity name that will quickly identify it. Identify with names of key people, and then you can share with your family all of these clips by copying them to a hard drive, or as I'm going to be doing, I'm going to have them on my Plex server and to give my family access to my server so they can watch these easily on their main TV anytime they like. So that's the process I've used for converting those priceless analog tape family videos to a digital format. I hope this was informative, and thank you very much.
Wow, thanks so much, Ray. That's great. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions in the Q&A about that.
Yeah, these are priceless videos, and you don't want to let them deteriorate to the point where you can't watch them anymore.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for doing that. And Hewie, you're up next.
I'm Hewie Poplock. Google Lens has been lurking around on Android and quietly getting more and more capable for years, since 2017. Google curiously doesn't make a big deal about it, and you really have to go out of your way to even realize that it exists. Google Lens is best described as a search engine for the real world. It uses artificial intelligence to identify text and objects, both within images and in a live view from your phone's camera. And it then lets you learn about and interact with those elements in all sorts of interesting ways. You install the Google Lens app on your Android device from the Google Play Store. Google Lens doesn't have its own dedicated app on Apple's App Store. Instead, its functionality is baked into two different Google apps. Which one is best for you will depend upon how you plan to use Google Lens and on which device. The first option to use Google Lens on your iPhone or iPad is the Google app. This gives you access to a whole range of Google services on your iPhone, including personalized news stories, sports updates, and weather info, as well as a full suite of Google search tools, including Google Lens. Alternatively, you can install the Google Photos app instead. This is the best option for iPad. Google Photos is the Google Cloud's photo backup service, and it includes a whole host of neat features for editing and organizing your images online. It also incorporates Google Lens. Open any image from your camera roll in the Google Photos app, and with just a tap, you'll be able to analyze it for information using Google Lens. There's a real good article on how to set up and use Google Lens on an iPhone, and the link is on the bottom of this page. There are 12 ways Google Lens can make you more productive on Android. Copy text from the real world, send text from the real world to your computer, hear text from the real world read aloud, interact with text from an image, search for text from any physical document or image, create a calendar event, save someone's contact information, email, call, text, or navigate to a website, translate text from the real world, scan barcodes and QR codes, use Lens from image search, photos, and your phone's camera, and get to Lens without lifting a finger. We're going to cover some of these. Open Google's Lens app, tap the document icon, and aim your phone at the document. Within about a second, you'll see Lens highlight the text. Let's take a look. We click the app. We zoom in with our camera and get the app just what we want. We then select all, copy the text. Then we can paste that into any document. For instance, we'll open up a Google Doc. And we'll paste. And there's all that document. Now you can paste it into a Google Doc and enlarge the font within the Google Doc. Now I've opened that same document on my PC, was the original size of the font, and we can increase that and then save the document. You can translate texts and you can do image searches. We're going to kind of do both with this next example. We're going to look at a magazine cover. We're going to go to translate and immediately translate it. We've got it set for Spanish, but there are many languages that you can use to translate, and it will automatically translate it for you. Then you can go to the search and then look, and it's looking at the pictures and the words and coming up to some examples which you click on and go to. Lens will replace the words on your screen with their English equivalents or with a translation in whatever language you select. Now, you can identify plants, you can identify clothes, and so on, but we're going to use plants as an example here. I'm looking at a plant outside my home. I click on it, search, and it actually tells me the name of the plant. And then it gives me other examples of that plant in different locations or something similar to it. And all of those are links in which I could go to if I wanted to. We click on one of them. It gives us the name of the plant, and it gives us a picture of it. Lens can actually identify things in a picture like people, text, math equations, animals, landmarks, products, and even more. You can even look up UPC codes using Lens. Take a box, go to the UPC code, click on it, go to search, and it will find lots of articles about that item. It'll actually find the item in Amazon and other locations that it's for sale. You click on one and you can see the item. Get the information from a business card. So we'll start Google Lens. We'll look at a business card. We'll tell it we want text. When we click on it, we have a choice of selecting all, which we will. It highlights all of it. And then we look below and it'll give us information, or we can just grab that text and copy it and then put it in any particular program or add it to our contacts. Use Lens from your PC. Here I've taken a picture of a figurine. This could be any picture in your browser. You right mouse click it and you search the image with Google Lens. When you do, it will find similar and the same item. In this case, it found where that item can be purchased at wallflowersca.com for $35. It also shows other figurines of pelicans, and you can search for just pelicans and get information as well. So what's next for Google Lens? Given that Google Lens represents the cutting edge of camera technology and Google's implementation of it, there are constantly small updates and rumored features for the app on the horizon. The function of Google Lens, the best way to use Google Lens is for you to decide. Anytime you see something worth remembering or learning more about is the right time to give Google Lens app its chance to shine. I highly recommend giving Google Lens app a try. This has been Google Lens. I'm Hewie Poplock.
Wow, another great presentation, Huey. That's probably be
One of
lots of
the
questions.
one of the things that I didn't get a chance to test and show you is you can take a picture of a sign of a restaurant using Google Lens, and it will go out and it'll find reviews of that restaurant. So as you're driving down the street, you see, oh, there's a restaurant I never heard of before. You take a picture and it will find it and give you all the information of it.
Wow. Yes, lots of questions. There'll probably be lots of questions about that. So we'll wait until the Q&A. Ray, just before we get into your music segment, I want to say goodbye to the people over, our fans over on YouTube. Thank you for coming. If we still have lots of room over in our Zoom meeting, so if we're going to be ending the broadcast now, we will see you again next week. Same time, same place. And if you want to, just don't forget our premiere service. If you want to come over to our meeting now, that's great. We're going to stop the live feed now, and I'm going to let Ray take it over again.
I'll leave it like it is. Okay, Teen Idols, and there was the Golden Boys. Now, the ending of the 1950s decade saw some dramatic changes to the stars of rock and roll. As we think back, Elvis was in the army. Jerry Lee Lewis was shunned for marrying his 13-year-old cousin. Chuck Berry was in prison for violating the Mann Act, and Little Richard had returned to the ministry. Many of the small independent record labels, which provided the opportunity for numerous young singers to break into the music business, were being eliminated as they were purchased by the big established labels. So what was emerging as the 1950s ended was the rise of the teen idol, typically a white male that was good looking. If he could also sing well, that was a plus, but not a necessity. These were solo vocalists that did not have their own band, so during recording sessions, they relied on studio musicians and songwriters employed by the record label. While there were many guys that could fit into this classification, 3 of them not only had successful individual music careers, but continued to perform as a trio on a regular basis decades later. Known as the Golden Boys of rock and roll, sometimes they were called the Golden Boys of Bandstand, the trio consisted of Frankie Avalon, who is now age 81, Fabian Forte, who is now age 79, and was one of the very first singers to just use one name, something that's kind of common now, but not back then, and Bobby Rydell. Interestingly, they were all from Philadelphia, thus the Bandstand connection, and during their prime had many top 40 hits. When their records were no longer making the charts, they continued to be seen over the years with guest appearances on all the popular television variety shows, as well as having acting roles in the motion picture industry. Small parts, but yet they were in these movies. Now, Bobby Rydell had a double transplant operation in 2012, replacing his liver and 1 kidney. And amazingly, he was able to return to the stage not long after that and continued to perform until, sadly, his passing earlier this month from complications of pneumonia at the age of 79. Now, you know, I always like to throw in a little bit of trivia. In the movie Grease, the high school was named Rydell High after Bobby Rydell. Word has it the Golden Boys performances will continue with Lou Christie now replacing Bobby Rydell. So today's clip is from 1986 during a Golden Boys show where Bobby Rydell pays tribute to a contemporary of his by singing Bobby Darin's Mac the Knife.
I think you had a winner there. Judging
Hope so.
on the way Bob was playing the drums and singing, I think you had a real winner. Well
Good.
done, Ray. Well done. Thank you so much. Well, you know, it's top of the hour. Hey, another hour has gone by. But you know something? We're going to do this all again next week. So you can come back again and we'll see you again next Monday. But in the meantime, if you want to learn all about the news of the week and have some more fun with us, we'll be having a show this Thursday, Tech for Senior Live. Bill James will be there. So you can come and have some more fun. And then if you even want more, you can listen to our podcast, and that will be, of course, available as well. Before we get started in the Q&A now, I'd just like to thank you for coming. And don't forget, I did put lots of links in the chat. So if you want to participate in our premiere service at hour, I'll be doing part 3 on virtual reality for seniors. Hewie's going to talk on tips and tricks for Windows 10. And I'm going to also talk on purchasing Chromebooks. What's a Chrome box? If you're interested, come and have a listen. Now, and it's free and it's available at hour. We'll continue on now till about 20 past when we'll be ending. So we have some time now for some questions. So we'll have some time for some questions, and we'll get that underway now. Now, if you can put the best way to do this is to put your hands up. So if you go down in reactions and you click on the reactions, and you'll pop up to the front just like Ivana did, and then we can answer their question, and away you go. I just had one comment to make after Dewey's segment, and I want to just let everyone know on my PC, I have a laptop, but my main computer here is a PC. I have 12 ports. I have, and one of them, of course, is a Thunderbolt port. Then I have a USB. Some of them are USB 3. Some of them are USB and Type-C. Dell provides a lot of different ports, but on this particular one, I have 12 ports. One of the things that's really important that everybody does is to know what these ports are. And the reason is that if you are plugging into ports, for example, suppose you have your mouse and you're plugging it in through your cable to one of the ports, you don't want to use a Thunderbolt port because your mouse doesn't need to have a fast port. But if you are plugging an external hard drive in, that would be a good time to plug it into a Thunderbolt port. So it's not easy to know. I've seen this mistake being made over and over and over again when I go out to see people, and I see that they've got their external hard drive plugged into a slow port, and they've got their mouse plugged into the Thunderbolt port. No. And it's hard to tell the difference. You know, it's particularly if it's the back of your computer, and it's hard to get around and look at, and the labeling of these ports is crazy, as Dewey has alluded to. It's not that easy. And sometimes you have to just take your manual out and look at these ports. But if you do have a fast port, don't plug your mouse into it, plug your external hard drive in. So please have a look at that. All ports are not the same. And as Dewey said, even the Type-C connections are different. You know, you can have a Thunderbolt Type-C as well. So it doesn't matter. You need to know what those ports are. All right, Ivana, go ahead. Sorry, we didn't answer your question initially. But refresh my memory again. What was the question?
How do you connect that MII-ML300 to the card? Because
right.
Yeah.
Right. Ray, where's Ray? Do you want to answer
Yeah,
that?
I'm here. I'm not quite sure what device. What I did talk about at one time was the Amazon Auto, and I'm not Amazon, Android Auto, and Apple's CarPlay. And those are the devices that if you take you have to have a car that has a screen built into the dashboard and has a USB port in the car. And when you plug your phone using that USB port into it, then the image of that's what's on the phone will now appear on the car screen. And so for many people, they have all their information, say, on an Android phone. By using this, and it's called Android Auto, it allows all your icons that appear on your phone now to appear on the screen in the car. And you don't have to try to replicate everything. So Android Auto is what's being used on the Android side, and Apple CarPlay for the Apple products. And then I did also mention that what's beginning to happen now is car manufacturers at the factory, when they're building the car, are putting Android as an option in the car. So that's called Android Automotive. Android Auto is using your phone, but Android Automotive is when the software is actually built into your car's head unit system. And you're going to be seeing more and more of that. That's going to be an option as you're buying new cars now. What kind of operating system do you want your head unit to use?
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Ben?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, Steve, did you have a question? I thought Steve's hand was up.
Yeah, I did, but I was just wondering if you can get a USB 4 hub, or how many ports it would actually have on it that would be USB 4.
Sorry, I didn't. You wanted to know? Can you just repeat the question?
The USB 4, if you could get a hub, and how many ports you could get on a USB,
On a USB
4
hub for USB 4. I haven't looked at that lately. Of course you can.
Google is your friend.
Yeah, one of the thing
Yeah,
that
that's what I did.
you can
I
just
found
search
that
on
there
it.
is such a thing, but it doesn't
Yeah.
give you any indication whether you could get one that's 10 or 20 hub ports on it.
Right. And if you look here, this is one of the ones, of course, if you have a Chromebook, a lot of times, particularly my Pixelbook, there's only one type C on the side of it. So you wonder, how do you plug things in? And then you need one of these little, I have a whole bunch of these, and you have different, this has a type C on the end here. And then you have all your different things that you can plug into all the different things that you can plug into this. And I have a bunch of these. So do they have USB 4s? I guess like Bob says, Google, it's look on Amazon. If they've got them, they've got them. The other thing that was interesting, I don't know, Ray, once you convert your pictures into digital format and you have an MP4, do you have any thoughts of whether we should be putting them on YouTube or putting them on, what do we do with them once we get them? I mean, we could put them on Google Photos, I guess, as a video, and we can put them on YouTube. Where do you think we should put these things once we convert them?
Well, I'd be hesitant about putting them on YouTube unless you have a way of making sure that only family members or people you invite to watch that video can see it, unless it's something that's comical that you really want to share. But the way I would do it is either you put them on a hard drive, and let's say you have 3 kids, create 3 hard drives, and that's a Christmas gift and for them. Or what I'm doing is they're going to be part of my Plex server. Now, I want to tell you, one of the mistakes I made with the Plex server is not having enough capacity. I bought a 6 terabyte drive thinking I'll never fill up a 6 terabyte drive. Well, I was wrong. So now I have a 12 terabyte drive, and I think is going to work. So that's going to be on my Plex drive. And as I mentioned before, I can allow my family, no matter where they live, to access that, and they can watch them whenever they want from the comfort of the living room on the biggest screen in the house.
Yes. Now, Google Photos, you can upload your videos to Google Photos, and of course, they are private until you decide to share those photos.
Same goes for YouTube.
Yep, same with YouTube.
Playback is a whole lot better on YouTube than it is on Google Photos. If you upload a video to Google Photos and you then want to access it, it takes a heck of a long time before it's available.
Right.
So that's one of the difficulties.
Yeah, for somebody like me, bandwidth it sometimes is an issue because I don't have the fastest speeds where I live. So that's why I'd probably opting for another direction.
Service, right? So just to let everyone know, if you have, and Bob and I do a lot of work on YouTube. So one of the reasons I brought that up is that if you have a Google account, which everybody does, you have the opportunity to have a free YouTube account. The thing about it is free. And so you are able to put videos. It's very easy to do. In fact, Bob just did a video on it. I've done many videos on the making of Tech for Senior and how to upload videos to YouTube, and you can make them private or you can make them unlisted. They don't have to be public. So that's another option for you. One
thing to remember, Ron, when you put stuff up on YouTube, unless you have a YouTube channel that has a pretty good following, you're limited as to the length of that video. So if you're sharing things like movies and they're fairly lengthy, you will have a problem putting them up on YouTube.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, because yeah,
Right. You and I have a channel.
Right.
I have over 2,000 followers,
right,
and
right.
I don't have a limit onto how long. Most of my videos are very, very short, but you do have a restriction as to the length of the video,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
if you just have a personal.
There's a couple of paid services out there too. I use Flickr for photos, but they also do videos. And what I think the other one is Venmo, if I'm not
Vimeo.
mistaken.
Correct.
And it's not expensive, but you still pay for it. But then you can keep it private, and you can only share. You can share it with just people you want to share it with. So for family members and so on. So you don't. So you can share it with your other family members as well, so they can see it. Your kids, grandkids.
You know, you can also do that on YouTube. YouTube, you have the same. They all have the same. You make it private, public, limited.
Bill, go ahead.
Yes, I'd kind of like to ask you, you have a lot of these hubs to different types of devices. Make sure that you plug those into a high-speed port too on those. I ran into an issue with reproducing a book, and I put it into slow port, and it took a long time. And I kept trying to figure out what I was doing until I discovered that it was in a lower speed port. So those ports really make a big difference on how long it takes things to work.
Yep.
Right. You know, that's exactly what I was saying. I mean, I've got 12 ports on my Dell PC here. You know, if I took that hub and plugged it into the slow port, why would I do that when I've got a Thunderbolt port that it will plug into? Like, you really have to pay attention, because all ports are not the same as what this is exactly what Dewey said. It's the software behind the port. Just because it's a USB-C, it does not necessarily mean that that's a fast port, right? So you have to, it's the software behind there. It's the protocols behind that port that makes it a Thunderbolt port. And it's so important that you know on your machine what those ports are, so you plug it into the right connection. Thanks, Bill.
They may look like a duck, but they don't act like it.
That's right. Exactly.
Power consumption is also something you have to be careful with.
Yes. Marshall, go ahead.
My choice for the family photos and videos is to have each of my family members have their own Google account, and they give me access to Google Drive and allows me to upload the stuff to them. The advantage of that, in my opinion, is now I have 3 or 4 or 5 copies, depending on how many family members have these things. So there's built-in safety.
Absolutely.
Works for me, and the price is right.
Yes, absolutely. Putting it on Google Drive or OneDrive.
Yep.
You know, you have OneDrive, with Microsoft as well. One of the things that you should be aware of that's interesting is those of you who have elected to use Amazon for your pictures instead of Google and Google Photos, is you can't upload videos to your Amazon Drive, which does create a bit of a problem there. So yes, for sure. The other one was the other one I was going to say, Hewie, shopping. So, you're out shopping and you're in the store, and it could be in the grocery store, and you pick up a can and you say, gee, is this a good price, right? It's on sale and you're going to buy a can of peas. You have your phone out and you have Google Lens. All you have to do is do a scan of the UPC code, and it will search and tell you what the prices are, not only in the store, but around town as well, right? So you can, it's a great way of, if you're in the store and you're shopping, to find out what the best price of something is, right?
Yes, absolutely. I do that anyway. I've been doing it for years, taking pictures of UPC codes
Right.
when I'm in a store and I'm looking at items. Then I go home and I look up reviews and so on of those items, so I can then compare. And that I never go in, especially for TVs or computers. I never go into the store with my money. I go in and I bring my camera. And I take a bunch of, and it could be my phone, but it's still my camera. And I take a bunch of pictures of the different models that they have. And then I go back and I start comparing and I decide away from the store which one I want. Because if you're looking at them all, you can get really confused if that model had this and that model had something else that I wanted. And all of a sudden, gee, I don't know which computer has all of them. And generally none of them do. So then you got to figure out what priorities you have.
Huey, remember that now when you take your phone, you also take your money.
Oh yeah. No, not me, because I haven't set that up yet.
Okay.
I've been afraid to do that, but that's coming.
So just to let everyone know that I did a whole video on shopping. And one of the things that you can do is if you're in Walmart, a lot of times the scanned item, the scanned price is different than the marked price on the device. They call it hidden secrets in Walmart. And and there's actually a video, a guy has a channel and tells you what the secrets are. And one of the things we did for our computer club one day is we all went to Walmart, and it was one of our little outings that we did. We all went to Walmart, walked around the Walmart store and kept scanning different items to try and find the hidden secrets, right? And so because a lot of times they don't have the manpower to change the actual tags on them, and sometimes you can actually find things quite a bit less than they are advertised. So that was one of the things we did, as we went around and tried to find hidden, and we found a few of the people in the club found some pretty good deals. So remember that, take your phone with you when you go shopping, for sure.
I found a website that allows you to, you take your grocery list, and as you're buying everything, you start keeping track of it and the expiring dates and all kinds of information, but it's a lot of data entry. I think it'd be more work than I think I want to have, that I've got to look up. I can look up and see, okay, how many cans of beans do I have, and when does the oldest one expire? I don't know that I want to know all of that. I don't know that I need to.
Well, there you go. Now at Sam's Club, when I was there, they had an app that we used in Sam's Club, and you just scanned your codes and you checked out right in the app. And so when you you didn't even have to go through the grocery store, the lineups. You just went out the door and you showed your QR code, and they scanned that, and that was it. And so you avoided all the lineups and checkouts, and it worked great. They did that as well at what was the big Fry's? They did the Fry's groceries as well, and you could scan your items, just put them in, and it was cool. It worked really, really well. Carl, go ahead. Carl,
You're muted.
muted.
There we go. Hey, I just heard something that I get interested in. I want to take a counting of all my cans of beans in my cupboard. Where's the software for that?
I'm sure.
I found it online, and I'd have to go looking for it again, but I may talk about that software and play around with it a little bit, but I don't think I want to set it up totally.
Carl, you're going to be a bean counter.
I'm serious, because when my girlfriend comes over, she examines all my cans very closely, because she knows there might be more than a year old. I'm being generous.
There you go. That's a good idea. Here, you should do a segment on that. That'd be a great one.
Yeah, I think I think I'm going to, but I don't know how deep I'm going to get into it, because I don't think I want to do it.
All right. On that note, a happy note like that, I think we're going to end the show today. Thank you so much for coming. Have a little break, get up, stand up, go to the bathroom, do whatever you want to do. We'll be back in about 10 minutes for our primary service. Please watch it, and we'll see everybody on Thursday that wants to watch us on Thursday. And if not, we will see you again, same time, same place next week, same on Monday, right? And enjoy the rest of your Easter Monday. And
as usual, we had a lot of things, a lot of interesting segments in today's program. Thank you, Carl, for your words on all of the ones that you enjoyed. We had a lot of fun putting it together as usual. And by all means, come see us next week.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye now.